Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I finally finished the reggaeton playlist I was working on. Right now, it is 7:30 and I just arranged all of the music. Still waiting for the app itself to connect the fact that I have completed the playlist. It's one of those situations. So it's over there doing its time wasting thing. But yeah, I just wanted to come back here and just tell everybody that I followed my heart today. I wanted to do something that I love to do. I had other things that I needed to do that were more pressing, and I tried to address them a little bit. Looked for apartments on Craigslist a little bit, did some things. But today, my heart was set on overcoming what was in front of me, which was a strong antagonist. Not only as it pertains to the app itself, but just when you're trying to do something to cope with your problems, and that for which you go to creates problems, it's a challenge. And that's exactly what this day has been about for me, just overcoming that and just dealing with the moments of this day where I was just sitting here waiting for the app to comply. And so I just wanted to share perseverance. And I told you I wasn't going to walk away from that app without completing my playlist. I wasn't going to do that. And as I told them on this camera, and I'll tell them now, you can't stop me. That's what I want to tell all of those energies out there that are interested in slowing down myself. No, no, that's not going to work. There's not enough in me that's going to allow for that, especially as it pertains to things that I know I'm here to do. Playlist curation is one of the things that I'm here on earth to do. When I leave this earth, I will have created as many of those as I possibly could. And I would have done a lot more if we didn't have days like this with antagonists like them getting in the way of creatives like me. And so I just want people to understand where I stand on this. I love creating many different forms. There's a lot of different things I can do at a pretty high level. I'm very, very much proud of what it is that I've not only displayed throughout this almost 700 playlists that I've bulled through and gotten done, whether they had their hand in trying to stop it or not, however that goes, but also just in general, in being strong enough to share the playlist and being strong enough to continue with the craft, being strong enough to continue doing playlists after my mother passed away, you know, that kind of thing. So it's like, for me, I share them with the world. Follow me at Apple Music, BDF at Apple Music. No 44 there, but that's what it is, man. That's what I want people to understand. And I don't know if what drives me is necessarily recognition. I don't think I'm really driven by that, because I've enjoyed isolation too much to think that I crave something from others that I really haven't craved. As you guys can very well see, I haven't put all the bells and whistles on my channel, so that recognition really is backed in that action. But or the lack of need for recognition should be backed in that action. It's the thought I'm trying to say. But nevertheless, man, you know, I still have every intention of doing it and being as excellent as I can be, regardless if I have a single soul that is aware of what I'm doing or not. It's just how I'm wired. I don't really find myself driven by other people's measures for success. I know what success looks like. I studied greatness all my life, so I know what it is. And at this point, I've seen so many examples of what greatness is about, to where I realize that I can harbor it so long as I stay winning the battles like today. Because today's playlist wasn't supposed to get done, but yet I just did it anyway. I had other things, like I said, I had other things, more pressing things to do, more important things to do. But one thing I understand is there's nothing, literally nothing more impressive than what it is that you're supposed to do. When you realize that you're in the life that is coming and going. And I think of all the artists that came and went. And I think about how many hours a lot of them put into their craft. I think about a guy like Tupac Shakur. He only lived 25 years. But during his lifetime, he did more music than probably a person who's over 35, 40 years old. Because he crammed that much work ethic into that short period of time. We talk about Lil Wayne's work ethic in the studio. He got it from Pac. That's who he was emulating. Pac used to do that. Go into the studio, do like 8 songs in one night, and walk out of there like Chris Brown does now. That kind of thing. Super creatives are the people that I've studied, people that I've patterned what it is that I try to do after. And so that's why for me it's one of those situations where it's like it is kind of a frustrating thing when you live the way that I do, humble, poor, when you know that you're like a quadruple threat. But at the same time, it's that for what makes me confident that also keeps me wanting to do it the way that I'm doing it. It's that within myself that is creative that also wants to do it kind of as an underdog, so to speak, or in the shadows, so to speak, to give myself the freedom that a lot of people who are looking for massive amounts of attention just don't allow themselves. They don't allow themselves that freedom to just have whatever it is that they're doing be owned by them. I was thinking about Stephen A. Smith today. He was talking about how, you know, he didn't appreciate a write-up that was supposed to be written for First Take the Show, but ended up being a reigning endorsement for Skip Bayless's talents today in 2023. Since he's doing, you know, not so well after Shannon left, I'm guessing this is supposed to boost him to try to keep his name in a positive light and hopefully get him that running mate. So maybe they were using Stephen A. Smith's show, now his show, their show, as a means of trying to boost him there. And Stephen A. had some things to say about it. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm not necessarily getting into those things at all, but I brought that up to say that the point I was really just him basically saying that, you know, he owned the show. First Take. He didn't say the word own, but he said it's my show. It's my show. I got First Take. First Take is mine. And while that's true from a me to you standpoint, that's actually true. But what I've come to understand is that's only partially the case, because they could take that show from him at any point, slap the name off of it. I mean, he could obviously go on and do something similar somewhere else with a different name, but the fact of the matter is that show, that format, and that investing into that budget, that's ESPN's. That belongs to them. And what I'm saying is, if I were to chase the success he was after, that's the freedom I would not have. I would be saying BDF 44's channel is mine, but it wouldn't actually be. Now, there's a lot to be said for not being paid for what you do. There's a lot to be said for being on YouTube's platform just the same. There's only so much of my own intellectual property that I own when I give it to this particular app, and I recognize that. But at the same time, it's about having as much control over your voice as possible. And for him, it's about making as much money as possible while doing so. And I just think when you go after the money, the more money you are asking for, the less freedom you allow yourself. The more money you're demanding from your employer, the more the employer has a right to burden you with his will for sake of that money. And I just don't like that exchange in life at all. I don't. I'm too much of a Leo to actually appreciate that at all. And so that's really where I end up finding myself in situations that aren't so luxurious. It's because I wasn't born with a silver spoon, and I don't wish to go after one, to be honest with you, even though I'm talented in so many different areas that can make me very wealthy. So that's just what it is, man. That's the God's honest truth. I would love to have a lot of money, but I don't want to do what it takes to go after it. Deal with some of the stuff that I see some of the artists out there dealing with. I just, from day to day to day to day, all you're going to do is find yourself more and more and more intent on making others happy and keeping control that you don't really have. Celebrities, they don't have. I've brought up Doja Cat many times, but I tell you, that woman looks so unhappy to me. Every time I see her, she looks miserable to me. And she's gotten into this machine, and they got a hold of her image, and they're sending her all over the world with the schedule, just like they're doing with Ice Spice, just like they're doing with Glorilla, just like, you know what I mean? They doing what they're doing. The City Girls, we see it all. It's the same old formula. You know, they did the same with what's Benzino's daughter, Koi. They're all in that machine, man. They're all being funneled around the same way. And I'm telling you, none of them people look happy to me. They look overworked. They look exhausted. They look exploited. And they look like their creativity is based on formulas that are supposed to work as opposed to their very own creative juices. And while that may be a good thing, because a lot of times you need to combine the two to succeed, at the end of the day, there's way too much of the let's do what works for attention method in this era that just looks primitive to me. It looks primitive. It looks like, you know what I liken it to? Like looking at old graphics in the video games. You look at the PS2 graphics in 2023. That's what it looks like to me when I'm watching these people be marketed the way that they do. It's like, yo, this is not going to last. The music, it only works for those particular artists, it only works if they really do have talent in the music and are able to make that cookie cutter sound their own. And a lot of times that cookie cutter sound ain't nothing but a sampled song from the 90s, some pop crap that's supposed to be slapped together with some other riff that you've heard a million times. It's just the same old song. And honestly, I'm hopeful for a return to creatives, maybe a return to the creativity of artists. And if they happen to not be so good at being creative, cool, then we can separate the good from the bad. But this whole the same formula that's being sold to Americans in various different things, it's just it's gotten to a point where it's really crazy to me right now. It looked a lot more balanced in the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s, when we were dealing with the media that we were dealing with. But now that we have so much of it coming at us through our phones, I almost feel overwhelmed at this point as just a single person looking at his phone every morning. Some of this stuff is just like, yo, you are giving me too much clout, chasing, self-exhaustion, confused, let me break up the family structure for the betterment of the family, of myself type energy. It's way too much misdirection, way too much let me funnel these people off of a cliff by way of their thinking. It's way too much of that going on, man. One day I'm looking at 20 pieces of cheese on slapped in between a bun somewhere in Thailand, like that's supposed to be news. Today I'm seeing these two island boys kissing each other. They're supposed to be brothers. I don't know what is going on in this world, but the need for attention is well past out of control. The need for clout has officially consumed an entire generation, in my opinion. And there is a generation behind them who still understand the value of currency. Maybe not the American dollar, but currency, and want to have as much currency as possible and ownership as possible, while kids are looking for attention. And as if that can hold some equity. And what's going to end up happening is 20, 25, and 30 years from now, when the kids who are craving attention realize that they don't have anything to show for their lives, that the attention is waned and they never owned anything, then they're going to understand that it was the generation behind them that's still going to own it. Those people ain't going to be dead yet. And that's going to be the thing. The 50s and the 60s going to be 70s and 80s, and they still going to be hoarding the money. That's what I believe is going to be happening. Because they understood the value of ownership and money, while this generation literally gave it all away for attention. So if you can find a way to turn attention into currency, then you've won the game. But until you figured that out, you're always going to be playing behind the 8 ball with all of y'all clout chasers and all that stuff. It's still about money and ownership. It's still about having the power to control yourself and others, unfortunately, in this world. And if you think it's about gaining attention, believe you me, the only people who get attention are the ones who are being exploited for the betterment of those who don't have that attention, but benefit from it monetarily behind them. People behind their curtain and all of their investors. So that is really what I see there. And that's why I don't put a whole lot of stock in anything other than the excellence of the craft that I'm doing. Because everything else is measured in different ways that don't have nothing at all to do with what it is I can control. So why care? Is what I've come to the conclusion of as it pertains to the numbers and who's paying attention to all that. If you're watching, thank you. But as far as everybody else, man, they'll catch up when they need to. If not, then they'll catch me never. It doesn't matter, because the point is I'm going to be excellent where I'm at, and whoever sees me will see that. And that's what I'm going to be measured by for all time, not just this time. And as I always tell you guys, people with better math will put together better solutions for tomorrow. They will know all of the things that we couldn't figure out. They will understand all of the stuff that we ultimately didn't have any understanding in regards to. Too busy doing the things that mattered for today rather than paying attention to everything that mattered forever more. And that's what I'm not on. That is why I chose to do a playlist today, because I know if everything lines up the way it's supposed to, that playlist will outlast my life. It'll be here longer than I am. And so will the art attached to it. So For me, it's about the excellence of the craft. Everything else can kiss, but you get the point. You know what I'm saying? I grew up on Kobe. I grew up on Michael Jackson. So if it ain't about excellence, I don't know what the hell we're talking about. And excellence is not measured by money. It ain't. It ain't. By the way, I understand, since we're talking about Michael Jackson, I think it was The Weeknd outgrossed Michael Jackson's greatest tour. His most highest selling tour, The Weeknd, and outsold him. So I guess that means he's a greater artist than Michael Jackson. That right there is what's wrong with this era right now. that stat right there is everything that's wrong. Are we taking into account more people? Are we taking into account the fact that there's just the internet that allows for more people to just have information, etc., etc.? Michael Jackson's talent level and the excellence he poured into his craft was not something that you can measure by the success of the people who came to see it. He could have been standing in that room by his damn self. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the point. That's the point. Was the performance excellent? Regardless if it was 6 people to see it or 6 million. Was it excellent? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that Weeknd's performance wasn't. I don't know. I didn't see it. But the point is, we trying to measure people against people who were uber talented and excellent at their craft and put in endless amounts of effort into the details of what it is they were doing. And everybody came to it because of it. Now, this era, I don't know what draws people to these artists. I don't believe it's the excellence in them. I don't believe that. But I will say there are some excellent artists out there. I think The Weeknd actually is one of them. But that's not the point. That ain't what his music right now is pop. It's been pop for about 12 years. The old Weeknd, the real Weeknd, still waiting for him to return. But that's the point. It's like when he was doing the stuff that I think garnered the attention that could be comparable to what it is he's receiving, he wasn't getting the attention wasn't coming to him. When the music was excellent, the attention wasn't coming. But now he's doing pop music. Now he's doing 80s music. Now he's doing all kinds of stuff that came out of the cookie cutter machine. Poof, into the oblivion. He's part of the machine, and it's like they took. Let me tell y'all something. The Weeknd's one of the greatest vocalists ever. Vocalist with the voice. His range is up there with some of the greats. But you'll never see any of that because everything he sings now is pop. Everything he sings now sounds like a throwback from the 80s. A throwback from Scarface movie or something. And I know that's not his style. That's what bothers me. When we talk about that specific artist, I know his style because he gave us an entire 3 albums of who he really is when he first came into the game. Everything else has been what they trained him to be so that it would work. So that it would break the records that Michael broke. That's machine work. That's not a reflection of his greatness necessarily. He put in the hours, but at his own craft or what they told him to do. What they told him it would work. That's what's wrong with that. That's why I don't want to be in a machine. It's like, man, how do I know something that I would have done or wouldn't have done, wouldn't have worked just the same? If I believe myself to be as talented as I am, but I'm going to go into that machine so things will work. Work for who? This generation so I can get what? This money and then what? It's not going to age well, is it? No, it's not going to age at all. This crap ain't going to be listened to 10 years from now. But it made $10 million right now, so I guess it's a success. I am not short-sighted like that. Now, granted, you can do long-term things with the money, which needs to be taken into account when we have this conversation. But as it pertains to the art itself, man, I want my art to be timeless. I don't want people to receive what it is that I'm doing the way that it's intended to be received today. I want it to be received organically by everybody who ever comes across it over time, including these videos. So I believe what I'm doing is going to age better than what I believe I don't like out there. I believe that. Everything I'm doing, art, music, the playlist, everything, all these videos, it's all going to age better than some of the stuff that works. And so I just want to let people know that I believe that. And we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. But that's one of the reasons why I don't put bells and whistles all over things, because I want it to be as organic as possible. Every last one of y'all follow me. I want y'all to follow me, not because of anything other than you were attracted to what it is that I brought to the table verbally. That's what it's about. Or you like this skull for some reason. Whatever. The point is, I want it to be people who wanted to see what it is that I was on be here. Before the machine lies to me and tells me who all loves me and who doesn't. You understand what I'm saying? And I trust my own ratio based on my own, what I see here. You know what I mean? And the likes versus that's what I'm measuring my own. I'm not looking what everybody else is doing, because I know if I clout chase enough times, I'll gather the same attention and I'll have the same trolls following me too. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. It's not about how many people are following you. It's about what types of people are following you and to where. Well, y'all follow me off a cliff? You want to follow me into to success? Where are we going? And that's the point. A lot of these folks are just trying to gather people. They ain't really taking them nowhere. They just is lost, and they just run around in circles. You know what I'm saying? The blind leading the blind, and the investors behind them who aren't blind at all. And that's the point. Artists, this ain't about you. It's about the agenda of those who invested in you 9 out of 10 times, unless you make it not about them anymore. And if that's the case, you're probably living poor. I'm telling you, man, the whole agenda, the whole thing about moving Americans and various different surrounding peoples, but mostly Americans, because that's what we focus on in this country, because we're so self-centered, in one direction or another. It's about moving Americans in one direction or another. All art. If they got a hold of it, they're trying to sway the tide. People need to do this, people need to do that, people need to do this in order for things to work right. So art needs to comply. Why? Because people are going to follow art. So that's what they have control over. That's what they have control over. They want you thinking about snitching. Whether you're doing it or not, they want it in your mind. Why? I don't know. They want it in your mind. They want you thinking about not needing a spouse, especially if you're a woman, especially if you're black. The last thing you need is a black man. The last thing a black man needs is a black woman, etc. This is what they're teaching us. We want everything. If this is the going nonsense. If you ain't paying her bills, she don't need you at all. Okay, that's the only good thing a man can do. But she can pay her own bills because she's independent. So which is it? They want us to not snitch, or do they want us to snitch? Because at the end of the day, this is complying with the government to get the bad guys off the street, right? So they should want us to snitch, except for it's them telling us not to. It's the government. These academic, these people work for the government. It's the government telling us not to snitch, as they're the ones telling people to snitch. They coerce you into snitch while investing in the Don't Snitch campaign. It's confusion. Just for your black self if you happen to be black. Just for your brown self if you happen to be brown. Just for your white self if you happen to be influenced by those people. It is what it is. And God is sufficient. He is very efficient and sufficient. He will make up for it. All of the stuff that we're losing on, all the different things that they're winning on, no, the people win in the end. That's what I believe. And I stick to that as I move forward with my voice confident. The people will win in the end. This ain't the last day. It's just a day. And if it might be a bad day, but the sun will shine tomorrow. And all of the confusion, for every bit of it out there, there's a voice like mine. Right here telling you, hey, I see something there. And it ain't right. A lot of the stuff that they want you to think, the only reason why they want you to think that is because they want you to end up broken so that you will need them more than you need one another. That is all it's about. Whatever you think it's about, it's not about that. You think they want to see you rich? Of course they want you to be materialistic, but do you think they want you to actually keep what it is that you gain? No. That's why they keep on funneling you in different directions to lose it. They want you to be a scammer. They want you to be overly sexed out. You know what happens when you're overly sexed out, right? You're about 7 degrees of separation from too many pills you have to take a day. They know that. And you think they're going to keep on reminding you of the different sexually transmitted diseases that are out there while they're pushing sex in your face? No, they're not. They're just going to try to confuse you as much as possible about who you should accept, who's accepting themselves, etc. in regards to sex. That's all it's about. It's acceptance. Saw something today, and I know it was misdirection. I know it's more to the story than what it's supposed to be, but I saw it anyway. I think it was on 6 Buzz 6, something like that. I think that's a Canadian tabloids, more or less Canadian type of college kid, that academics, that type of thing, but for Canadian base, I believe it is. What they posted was some nonsense, some absolute nonsense. Essentially, it was saying something along the lines of ah man, I lost my train of thought. It happens, but nevertheless, it'll come back to me. The point is, it's a bunch of middleman nonsense that I don't appreciate out there, and that was just another example of it. That's all it was. Another example of them telling you something that wasn't good for you, and people running with it saying, yeah, that's what it is, when it's all they're going to do is funnel you in directions that ain't no good for anybody. That's God's honest truth, man. That's all that example would have been. So that's what I'm here to tell people, regardless if I remember what the examples are or not. The point is, you see so many of them where people are being flowed or funneled rather in a direction that's just meant to hurt them. That's it. You know, different situations. I seen a post. I don't even know if it's the same post I'm referring to. It might have been. But it was a lady sitting up there saying, I don't need nothing from a man unless he paying all the bills. If he ain't paying all the bills, she got her toys to take care of everything else. And I'm just like, all they gonna do in that situation is leave you with your family structure broken. That's all that's gonna leave you. You gotta look at the numbers. There's a lot more women than men out here. And the 1% are just that. It's 1% of them. So chances are, if you're gonna find somebody that you're gonna end up with, chances are a good portion of you are gonna have to settle for someone who doesn't have the money, because that's what the numbers tell you. Forget everything else. Somebody just gonna have to accept the fact that they're gonna have to get it out the mud with somebody. Because if you're waiting for your rich man, it ain't enough of them. It ain't enough of them. And those who are funneling that message to you, black woman, know that. They got the numbers in front of them. They know that. And what they want you to do is to realize none of that but your own strength, which ain't really strength because you end up broken in the end with no one. You end up dying alone. But they don't want you to think that that's a fate that you shouldn't have, because they're going to keep on giving you roses. And I ain't talking about the kind you get from a flower. They're going to keep on giving you toys that allow you to understand that you can find pleasure outside of that of a man. And everything's going to be pointed at you being alone as self-sufficient, while those who are selling that to you are in homes with many people. You see what I'm saying? You alone and believe it's your choice. Yes, I want to be alone. Nobody's to be trusted. Nobody has enough money. So I want to be alone. And the people who are investing in that have family trusts. Okay? That's what I want people to hear me say. They have a whole family structure where grandpa and grandma was in the household, great grandma and grandpa was in the household, and they was all rich. And they passed their money and their connections to their children, who will have family structures and build their own from foundation from the investment of those families. You don't have none of that. You don't even have your daddy. And now you're trying to tell me you don't want to give your child a father either? So your family is just going to be broken throughout generations. And guess what you ain't going to have? Any damn thing. You ain't going to have nothing. Why? Because you're by yourself. How the hell could you have anything? Do you know why they have so much? You know why white supremacy works? Because it's family structure. Family structure. You know why other countries, and if they're going to continue to rise above black people? Because of family structure. And we believe in culture that keeps us away from one another by way of our own choices and will and culture. So let me get this straight. Black people want to spin the block, kill each other, because we're from the opposite side. Even though a lot of these opposite sides are actually your own damn cousin. We just got a chance to get rent down the street. He got rent around the corner. He was able to get approved in that building, so therefore now he gonna raise his kids on that block, so therefore them kids gonna hate your kids because you couldn't get your rental agreement on that block. You were able to get it on this block. So now, of course, your kids are from different hoods, so they have to hate each other. It's like, bro, if y'all don't see how ridiculous these damn cultures are and how they were started by people who hated your ass, like they hated you so much that they thought of really, really clever ways of killing you and making it your choice. They always make it your choice through the food you eat, through the cultures you engage in. It's always on you to stop killing you, except for it's not you that's telling you to kill you. It's them telling you to kill you. By what it is, and they invest in over time. Time is key to all of this. Accountability, we talk about it, but they've been investing in this for generations. Where's the accountability in that investment statement? Did we hold them accountable for investing in our death? No. In our suffering? No. Because we're not doing any of that. We're not thinking like that at all. We're too busy wrapped up in the cultures they want us in. And this is why we have to continue to fight. Their self-accountability conversation will always take the accountability off of those who put you in positions to be in a disadvantage. As long as you're looking at yourself as, I want to do this, this is my choice, and nobody's telling me anything, while you're actually taking things in that suggest such things, you are in a space of confusion. And so that is what we are seeing, a world of people in a state of confusion. They don't know what welcomes them the energy that they want, but they do know they don't like the consequences from doing things that don't work. And that's why I come in. It's like, look, I don't have bad energy for the people who harmed me, you know, the people who I think may have done whatever, because that bad energy don't do nothing but hurt me. And I know better. And all they want me to do is hurt me. And everything they do is meant for me to hurt me by choice. And so I can't roll with that. Not if I know what the hell I'm doing. It's chess, not checkers. So I keep God close. And as far as everything else, man, I wish I would remember what was on that 6Buzz account. I wish it would have came back to me, but my mind does that sometimes. But at the end of the day, I think I got the gist of what I was trying to say out. Which is, keep an eye on what it is that you're doing as it pertains to the things that you agree upon. If you agree that you need to be alone because the man that you want is worth as much money as LeBron James, you need to understand it ain't too many LeBron James, and Savannah already got him. Okay? She already got him. So these are the type of things we need to be honest about. And if you've ever heard of somebody getting it out the mud, then you understand that some people do. So you need to get in that mud and help him do that. You know what I mean? Instead of waiting for somebody who already got it made to come by and sweep you off your feet. I mean, chances are, if you guys are really if you're really going to establish something that's lasting, then you're still gonna have to work just as hard as if you are getting out the mud, regardless of how wealthy you are or not. And that's the secret to the understanding that's really out there. Is the more you get, the more you have to do to keep it. In a lot of cases. And so, more money, more problems is a real thing. That's real wisdom. So that's what I wanted to share with everybody, man. I had a good day overall, because at the end of the day, I was able to complete what it is I was intending to do. Could I have done other things with my time? Absolutely. Would they have been as lasting and as meaningful as what it is that I did today? Hell no, not even close. And that's the truth. That is the truth. And that's been the story of my last couple years. For all the things that I should have been doing, ain't none of them more valuable than things that I actually did. BDF 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.